Hi, my name is jennuinn. I'm a pharmacy student and journalist, and I'm just making this video to talk about my experience being press at the Blume Music Festival in Sacramento, California. This happened in August 2023, so last year, and I just wanted to make a video kind of recapping my experience as a journalist at that music festival and also answer any people's questions. So some of my friends sent a few. I interviewed 7 artists total during my time at the music festival. Like for example, Mariah the Scientist, phonyppl, RINI, arin, all of these, and thuy was amazing. All of these like singers are basically in the R&B genre, because Blume is about R&B. So the process for applying to be press at a music festival is you usually have to be a writer with a magazine. If you're just a photographer, you can attempt to get a press pass. You'll usually just get a media pass, but press is different in that they really expect you to produce content, i.e. like an article or video about the festival. And so I was there as a writer. I ended up writing for Lady Gun magazine. Can you describe the challenges you faced while conducting interviews in a busy and dynamic festival environment? I had flown into California from New York because at the time I was doing a Bellevue rotation for pharmacy school, and then I got the notification that I had been approved for this music festival, so I had to buy a ticket, and I flew in like Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday was when the festival was happening. So my photographer Cerise, so she was driving us. We rented a car and I had my laptop out, and so what happened was we got the list for the artists literally the morning of. I had to research. I actually originally got 4 artists, and then one of them was P-Lo, but we ended up not interviewing him. But then we ended up getting Mariah the Scientist, so I'm pretty sure I had, I think 4 that day, and then Sunday I think I had 3. I can't really remember. The stressful part about that was I didn't have much time to prepare. I'm very used to interviewing musicians backstage in their green room. The green room is literally just where they, sit and prepare and wait to go on stage. And so I, as a journalist, have typically done the interviews in the green room, and it's only focused on like one act, right? So I would prepare maybe like 2 days in advance, kind of generate all the questions that I want based off other articles that have been written about them, other interviews, other videos. So I would do all my research and then, have very specific questions for the artist. But this was hard because there was like a time constraint for the festival because I just didn't know who I was going to be interviewing that day. So when I got it, like the amount of research that I could do was limited just because of the time. But I ended up piecing together what I think were really good questions, and like even when I was interviewing the people or the artists, they were like, wow, that's such a good question. And part of it is not prepared. Some of it, like, you just go with the flow of the conversation. And so if an artist says something that like piques your interest, you kind of generate a question right then and there. And I think that's like also really imperative for a good interview, because you can't just read questions off of a list. You have to be ready to like be in tune with the person that you're talking to, because ideally it's a conversation, not like a Q&A, So how did you navigate the balance between enjoying the festival as a fan and fulfilling your responsibilities as a member of the press? For me, I just treated it like it was business. I wasn't like, yeah, of course I'm there as a fan, and like meeting and interviewing all these musicians that I actually listened to quite often was really insane, and I still can't believe I did that. But you just have to like remember that you're there to do a job. How do you keep your composure with musicians you're really into? I just remember that they're people at the end of the day. I try not to put them on a pedestal. Of course, like, I'm excited to be there and to interview them, and I let that excitement show. I want to, like, be enthusiastic and interested and give them my all when I speak to them. Or, like, I at least try to match their energy. Usually, though, it's like I am the one who wants to interview them, so it's not that crazy for me to be the one who's more interested in our conversation. But if you ask good questions, they can't help but be more interested in the conversation too. They'll become invested. But keeping my composure, I just remember that they're people at the end of the day. They're just like us. They're just like me. They're gonna go home. They're probably gonna scroll on Instagram for like a few hours before going to bed. That type of thing. And just like take the opportunity in stride, because yeah, if I'm really into the musician, then like definitely like dive into it and like be happy with the fact that I get to speak to them. And a lot of the times, well, not a lot of the times, but a few times when I interviewed these musicians, I get the chance to befriend them later on, or it's kind of more, it's like they speak very casually to you after the interview is over. Like there's like that feeling of like comfortability and familiarity that you're able to establish during a good conversation. But yeah, just remember that they're human at the end of the day. How did you go about selecting which artists or events to cover, considering the diverse lineup of a music festival? For me, I just wanted to interview the artists that I listen to the most, because I felt like I could generate real, genuine questions, because like I am inherently interested in them as a person, in them as an artist and a creator. So I didn't really go for any artist that I wasn't super into. At Blume, we were in like the same, so they gave us like VIP tickets basically, which is really helpful because VIP allows you to migrate from like one stage to the other a lot faster, because the way it was, like the layout of the festival was that there were 2 stages and the VIP was in the middle of those 2, so you could just walk easily between the 2 stages. But then if you're not VIP, the distance to cover between stage like A and stage B was a lot bigger. So it was nice because being VIP, it makes it a lot easier to just like go around, get photos when you need to get photos, etc. And then we were in like the media, I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a special tent. And it wasn't just like journalists, it was a lot of like local newspapers with student journalists. And then also influencers. There were like a bunch of like people who were just Instagrammers or TikTokers, which I was like, okay, I didn't realize that people could get into a music festival for free being like I'm an influencer, but hey, it makes sense. They were doing like photo ops in the back. It was really nice though. There were like free drinks, free food, free merch. Like I got a Blume tote bag, which I'll probably show in a picture. And then when it was time for our interview, the person who's in charge of all of the press stuff, and she was doing a lot. She was managing the artists at the same time and doing a lot of logistic stuff. She would take me and Cerise from that tent area, and then like we would follow her to go to like the trailers where the artists were. And the trailers are like behind the stages. I'd say honestly, doing press at a music festival though is because of the time constraints for the research and also just the number of people that you're interviewing in one day. I think it's like really good, not practice, because you definitely have to be like I think experienced before you do a music festival as press, but I felt like it really solidified my own confidence in my ability to do journalism, especially like on the go. Because I think before this I was very like, oh, I have to prepare, I have to know these people like the back of my hand type thing. But this music festival showed me like, hey, I'm good at asking questions on the fly and good at like figuring out what to say and like how to make them laugh, because I made I made pretty much every single person that I interviewed laugh. Like, literally, like, Mariah, RINI, phonyppl, that was like a good energy because it was a group. Durand Bernarr, I made laugh. We talked about like Finding Nemo. Durand Bernarr was great. Thuy, I made her laugh, but we also had a very like a more emotional discussion. Yeah, literally just like every artist I interviewed, I made them laugh. So it was a big like ego boost / confidence boost just to do journalism at this music festival and do it successfully and like feel comfortable and then leave knowing like, hey, I was able to do that. I can do any other music festival, you know, even though I didn't have like what I would call or consider adequate time to prepare. And so that's why I am currently launching this interview show called In Between Bites, because I was like, hey, I know, like, it went from I think I could do this as a journalist to I know I could interview people on camera and it would be chill. So yeah. Okay, so I'm moving on to the questions that my friends have asked. So the first one is, how do you connect with people in the music industry? I don't know if you mean like connecting with them on like a spiritual or like mental level when I'm interviewing with them, but like I just approach them as like people. But if you mean like how do I connect to like get these like gigs, for the music festival I just submitted a press application. That was it. It was on their website. But then also the more interviews that you do and the more like you know, agents and artist managers that you meet, the more better connected you are. What is the weirdest interview experience you have had? I haven't had any weird interview experiences, I think. How do you write an article? Are you usually assigned or do you come up with the idea? Within just the music journalism Soul Bloom event, I am not assigned. I just submit which artist I want to interview, and that becomes, you know, the piece. Regarding articles in general, it depends on which like column you would be writing for. So some would be news, and usually those are assigned because it's news. Or if it's like culture or opinion, you would come up with it yourself usually. What are your goals for this year? Journalism wise, my goals are definitely to launch In Between Bites, which is the show, and like hopefully it does well. And I also want to do 88 Rising Head in the Clouds Festival, because I was supposed to do it last summer, but then something happened. But I want to do it in New York. I don't want to do it in LA. I want to do the New York version. And I also am hoping that I can do GovBall. What's my favorite thing about being a journalist? I just get to have the opportunity to talk to a lot of people that are like respected within their industry. I think it's awesome just to be able to talk to them and like ask them questions that I have. I love like the peculiarity of journalism and also the fact that things change all the time, and as a journalist you're not like confined to one thing. Like, yeah, I do mostly music journalism, that's kind of what I specialize in right now, but I'm not limited to it at all. I in fact hope to do more health writing in the future or news stories, but mostly like health and wellness is something that I would be really interested in. Those are all the questions. Hopefully that was helpful. My experience doing journalism and press at Soul Bloom was really awesome, and it was a great first music festival experience. I would definitely recommend, and I would definitely do it again. You can leave some comments below if you have any additional questions for me, or if there's anything that I didn't cover, which I'm sure there is, but yeah. Thanks for watching.
I've been looking for direction, left or right, industrial light, despite the way I feel so missing. Hate this time, it's kinda sinking, no invite, done for the night. Is the corner, fly on the wall.